Alright, let's give this a try. Alright, so I wanted to do a quick video on The Tick, Season 2. I've been following that show since before that show existed. Originally, the show started out with Amazon does this, or at least was doing this weird thing where they would propose a sort of premise for a show, and I think they even let people vote on things at that point, and then later they did a thing where they made a pilot, and everyone who was a Prime member, Amazon Prime member, or had access to Prime Video, I guess if you had access to it another way, would vote on, do you want us to make this series? Do you want us to make this show based on the strength of the pilot? In essence, the viewers, their own audience, their own consumers could vote on whether or not they wanted the show to exist in the first place. The Tick was one of them. I rallied as hard as possible, like, everyone liked the show, because the pilot I liked quite a lot. I liked the premise of it, and I liked the direction of that show, looking at the second season, going through this a bit, they eventually made the show. It showed up a few months later. They did, I think they called it a half season. It was really odd. And then the next year they did, more episodes, but they just called it the second half of season 1 a year later, which I thought was a bit strange. And then this year they released season 2. My impression is that they've gotten on their feet. Amazon, God love them, because they do make some good shows. And I do like the service. I do like Amazon Prime. I also like Amazon Prime Video. But Amazon is not a competitor for Netflix. Not really. Netflix is just too dynamic. They have too large of a library that they can offer for free with their service. They make too many shows of too high a budget. Amazon is very cautious. I mean, even this show, they didn't dive in with The Tick. They said, hey, maybe we'll make this pilot. Maybe, if a lot of you guys say you like it, maybe we'll actually make the show. Maybe it'll have a second season. Very tentative. Amazon plays it safe. Which is fine. But they tend to not have a whole lot of innovative shows that I like. Netflix is the one who experiments and tries. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I wanted to review the second season. I feel like the second season is they finally got their feet under them. Like, this feels like they know where they're going, and they have a direction and a vision. I thought they did in the first half of the first season, but they started, I think, someone got a little braver, or it got popular enough that whoever had crazy or weird ideas was able to go, hey, it seems to be working, and people capitulated, and the thing got made the way it got made. I have no idea, but that's the impression I get. Season 2 continues with that a bit more. It gets weirder, it gets more adult, and God, if I didn't know better, I would say, seeing as superhero franchises are just the thing now, like, they're at the height of their popularity, everyone wants to make them. I mean, for fuck's sake, Netflix has got the Umbrella Academy and a couple others, but mostly cartoons and stuff like that. But the idea that we're going to make a superhero show, and it'll be popular because superhero shows are popular, like this is a whole genre now, and then maybe we'll make a franchise out of it. The Tick, for the second season, the continuity has become so in-depth, and the characters fleshed out to such a degree that it's like, if they really wanted to make The Tick a franchise, like they wanted to make spin-off episodes, spin-off shows, I don't think they could yet, but they're damn if they're not getting close. Like, the character Dot, Arthur's sister. No spoilers. Watch the show. It's excellent. It's fun. It's a fun show. But Dot has an arc of sorts. The character is not yet to the point where she could support her own series, nor could Overkill nor could a lot of these characters, but they're close enough, like another season or two, and they'd have enough history and characterization and so on that they genuinely could, that they really could, and it wouldn't take too much more. Unfortunately, these seasons are only 10 episodes long, so they're real short. So there's only so much character development you can have. If they were longer, God, we'd almost be there now. I don't know to what extent I'd be interested in the Tick extended universe. As it is, and this is the other thing, this season, and to a good degree the last season, both halves of it, aren't really about the Tick. The Tick is in it, he's prominent in it, but it's far more about Arthur, the character of Arthur. In the first couple episodes of the first season, it's kind of implied that the Tick might not even be real, that he might not exist, that this Arthur is a mentally disturbed person, has had traumatic events happen in his past, and it's almost implied that the Tick might be a manifestation of his psychosis because he stopped taking his medication. And that's an unique way of putting it, like your main character might not be real. Like your title character might not be real. I'm going to call it, I think Arthur is the main character, with the Tick being the title character, and he's more in the background. He's more a part of the setting than a character. He's definitely a character, but not to the same degree Arthur is. And increasingly not to the same degree that Dot is. And it's not, and that sounds like a criticism, but it's not. The other characters support the Tick well, and the Tick is interesting enough to have him around and watch him. This is a fun-ass show. It is dark in places, very dark. I mean, the main character, Arthur, his father and all of his heroes were killed by the main villain in front of him, were crushed by a vehicle and killed violently in front of him. That's horrific. And that's a lot for a kid's show. 2, it's weird. It is a genuinely weird show with some very weird concepts that remind me a lot of some of the meta from Venture Brothers. The sort of superhero awareness. Like, superheroes are an odd concept, more suited to comic books, particularly older comic books. I mean, sure, they're fine now, but debatably. But it's an odd, and a lot of the tropes are more an artifact of the writing rather than conceptually being a whole in their own right. But what I mean to say is this show's vaguely... Venture Brothers plays very much on that sort of awareness of how strange a genre it is. And Venture Brothers isn't always a comic book superhero TV show. This show has to play on that more, but plays it more straight. And it's so easy to fall into the trap for a show like this, a superhero comedy of just flat out saying, boy, superheroes are a ridiculous concept. If you go that route, you're kind of undermining yourself. How do I take anything in the show seriously if the very concept itself is presented as laughable? A comedy in a superhero show, to do it properly, Marvel does it very well, where it takes everything 100% totally seriously, and then at the edges of it starts to make note of, hey, this is a sort of superhero thing, isn't that a little strange? And then the contrast for that makes the humor. I'm over-explaining this, but that doesn't matter. But yes, I love the show. There was a lot of fun. The season was a lot of fun, and at no point, I don't think at any point it dragged, like where it was like, okay, yeah, we get the idea, hurry up. There was something always happening. The show was dark, weird, serious, shockingly serious in places, where, I mean, there are serious events happening, where there are actual family moments, and there are stakes, and there are There's violence. There's the threat of someone getting killed. It's a really good show, is what I'm saying. I would recommend seeing this. I think the odds of seeing this and not liking this are fairly low. If you like superhero stuff, it doesn't go the goofy route, which is what The Tick was initially, the comic book. That's the whole point of the comic book, was superheroes are a ridiculous concept. All of our humor comes from that. The cartoon, somewhat less so, although it did have that quite a lot. This, very little. I mean, it does it a bit, but not as much. Not to that same extent. It more plays off the fact that the entertainment comes from the characters and the writing, which is what I want, and as it should be. But bear in mind, the original comic book and the kid show was a kid show. This show is much more adult-oriented. I wouldn't call it R-rated, but this would definitely fall into the PG-13 range. Just keep that in mind. Other than that, I'm eagerly awaiting Season 3. This was a fun romp, and one last note. If you were a fan of the cartoon or the comic book, the number of Easter eggs, call-outs, and so on from both of those, the comic book and the cartoon, are immense. They're everywhere. I think there's at least a few in every single episode. And it's fun to watch. It's that bit of nostalgia to kind of give it a little extra oomph. Other than that, this is the real, for me anyway, the show is really what I'm getting Amazon Prime for. Because if I want free movies, shit, I got Netflix. And that's cheaper too. But this is the thing that worth getting Amazon Prime Video, that particular service for. I think that's it. We'll see this. I haven't been doing these as much, and I'm hoping to do a bit more. We're getting into that magical season where there's a movie going on, a fandom movie every single weekend. I just saw one this last weekend. I'll do a review for that. Shazam. Hellboy is next weekend. We have, I think, after that weekend, we have something else, and then Avengers, and then Spider-Man Homecoming, and all the rest. It's just a flood of stuff. It's movie season. Movie season. It's a 3-month period. Anyway, that's too much. That's enough. I'm out.